ተናስልኝ ተመልካቾቻችን እንደምን ሰንብታችኋል? ዛሬ በዚህ በቶሮንቶ ዳውንታውን 55 ዩኒቨርሲቲ አቬኑ ላይ ሞፈር ካፌ ፊት ለፊት ነው የምገኘው። ዛሬ በዚህ በሞፈር ካፌ ከጠዋቱ 10 ሰዓት ከ30 ጀምሮ እስከ ሚድ 12 ሰዓት ያህል በዚህ በቶሮንቶና አካባቢ በካናዳ የተወለዱ ወጣቶች ኔትወርክን አስመልክቶ ፕሮግራም ሲያደርጉ ነበረ። እንዴት ስራ ለመያዝ እንዴት የየራሳቸውን የልምድ ኤክስፒሪየንስ የህይወት ኤክስፒሪየንስ እና የተለያዩ ጉዳዮችን አንስተው ሲወያዩ ብርሃን ቴሌቪዥን በቦታው ተገኝቶ አንዳንድ ፕሮግራሞችን ለእናንተ ይዤላችሁ እየቀረብኩ ነው። በተለይ ደግሞ ምስራቅ ልሳኑን ከልብ አመሰግናለሁ። ምስራቅ ልሳኑ በቶሮንቶ የፒቱፒ ካናዳ በአሁኑ ሰዓት ከረንት ፕሬዚዳንት ነች። እሷ ነች ግብዣውን ለብርሃን ቲቪ ያቀረበችው እና መተን ዘግበናል። ወጣቶቹ እጅግ በጣም ደስ የሚሉ ናቸው። ህፃናቶች አሉ፣ ሃይ ስኩል ተማሪዎች አሉ፣ ዩኒቨርሲቲ የጨረሱ አሉ፣ የሃይ ቴክ ቴክኖሎጂ ተምረው ስራ የሚሰሩ አሉ። ሁሉም ተሰብስበው እየተወያዩ እየተጫወቱ ነበረ። በጣም ደስ ይላል። እንግዲህ ከዚህ በኋላ ብርሃን ቴሌቪዥን ይሄን ፕሮግራም ሳቀርብላችሁ በጣም ደስ እያለኝ ነው። ልጆቻችሁ እንደዚህ አይነት ኔትወርክ ላይ እንድታደርጉ እንጋብዛለን። በተለይ በተለያዩ ሁኔታና በተለያዩ ጊዜያቶች በቶሮንቶ ብዙ እጅግ በጣም የሚያስደስት ነገር ለኢትዮጵያ ወገኖቻችን የሚያስደስት ነገር በመደረግ ላይ ይገኛል። ስለዚህ ሁላችሁም ብርሃን ቴሌቪዥንን ላይክ ሼር በማድረግ እንድትከታተሉና በየቦታው እየሄደን ይሄንን ፕሮግራም ለእናንተ እንደምናቀርብ ከወዲሁ እናሳስባለን። አሁንም በድጋሚ ብርሃኑ ነኝ ከብርሃን ቴሌቪዥን ከቶሮንቶ ዳውንታውን ሞፈር ካፌ ሚኪያስ የብርሃን ቴሌቪዥንም ስፖንሰር ነው። ሚኪያስንም እግረ መንገዳችንን ከልብ እናመሰግናለን ለምታደርገው ለኮሚኒቲ ጠናስልኝ። መልካም ቀን። ብርሃኑ ነኝ ከብርሃን ቴሌቪዥን።
So I'd like to welcome everyone to our first Haya Coffee Conversation. This is a place where we're going to learn about different networking opportunities from all of the industry experts we have in front of us. I'd like to make a special thank you for the Haya team organizing this. Other than me, thank you guys. Really appreciate that. Special thank you to Milkias for giving us this location to hold our event. And we're going to have a great time. We're going to learn a lot of stuff. So to start off, I'm going to let each of the industry experts explain their field and a little bit about them. So I'll start off with Mesrak and go right ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Mesrak Sanu. I am the district sales manager for Habesha. I've been in the pharmaceutical industry for over 23 years. I studied biochemistry, and I started my career in research, then totally went off the rail and got into sales and marketing. So I'm also the president for People to People Canada. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of P2P. We do have Sound the Horn program as well for mentorship for the youth as well. And then I'm also one of the co-founders for Advancing Black Talent in the pharmaceutical industry. That's me.
Yeah, I started off in hospitality, property management, transitioned over into sales, now looking to make some advances in housing development. I also co-founded an organization, a Eritrean community-based organization called New Napfa. I don't know if some of you have heard of it. And so I sort of straddle these two worlds on a daily basis, and that's myself.
Hi, everyone. My name is William. And thank you for the opportunity. It's a pleasure to be here teaching you guys today. I work as a program manager, operations and client services for a BPO company. And although you know I come from a STEM background, so I did engineering, no sales, education background, because people who are taken into kind of like crossing industries there. But within teleperformance, I work in different roles.
All right. So the first question I'll be asking each and every one of you is, we have a lot of people who are recently graduating from post-secondary schools who are in their final years of that journey. What would you say are some steps an individual can take while in the last years of post-secondary school or recently graduated to ensure a smooth transition to the workplace? And we can start with Ms. Rec again.
Okay. Can you guys hear me back there? Okay.
Perfect.
So my suggestion for you is to get involved. Increase your social capital, your relationship capital. So volunteer in organizations like this. Be part of a professional network. Think about where you want to go and start thinking about, where do I need to go? Where are the professional networks out there? There's a lot of organizations within your own community to actually hone in on your skill sets by volunteering, honing in into your, leading without authority, but you're learning how to lead an organization. So my biggest thing I will tell you is to actually go out there, network. You guys, your generation especially, you guys do that really, really well. So get involved. Volunteer, raise your hand to help, right? And go to these networking events, connect. Most importantly, follow up with the people that you connect with, okay? Because a lot of people are out there to help. They really do want to help. I was talking to Revi. Where's Revi? There you go. Co-op, internship, summer internship. Connect with the community leaders, the professionals, and say, hey, do you have an internship? Do you have a co-op program? Or if there is a co-op program that's actually posted in an organization that, can you connect me with somebody within the organization? Be bold and ask for those connections, and genuinely connect with people ahead of time. That's my suggestion for you guys.
All right. Same question applies to you, Nathan?
Yeah, I feel like Mr. Rock kind of hit a lot of that on the head.
We'll start at different people for the next one.
But yeah, even just to build on what she's saying, I got into the real estate industry before I decided to choose real estate as my...
Both are okay.
I decided to get into the real estate industry before I chose it as my academic major. I was already working in the real estate industry, so that's sort of an example of interning or getting a co-op. So for anyone looking for a smooth transition, I would definitely say try to get involved in some way, shape, or form. Get some hands-on experience into the industry that you're looking to get involved in. You'll establish some connections and networks in that area, and if you do a good job, they may call you back once you get out. So, yeah,
definitely.
I think you've covered pretty much everything. One thing I wanted to emphasize on what Ms. Rab said is follow up. Because we meet people pretty much everywhere, not when we go to events for such networking events, but we meet people for all kinds of purposes. But if you're purposeful about what you're trying to achieve and actually recognize that whatever it is that you're doing for all kinds of purposes could contribute towards that in any kind of way, make sure that you're following it. It could be a quick note that you can send to someone, making sure that you keep somebody's contact information. You never know when you need it, but as you build in your network, if you're purposeful and you're following up, you'll find yourself in a much better place where you can cash out on some of those relationships that you build. You might not know the exact path that's going to take you where you want to be, but as you're touching different places and you're making sure that you're signing them off, you will have the opportunity to make sure that you're making the most of it. That's the one thing that I was going to emphasize. I think they've covered pretty much everything.
Yeah, I mean, to add a few things. Just narrow down your target. To narrow down your target, look at, I mean, just think about what you want to do, right, in the future, and focus on networking with people who are like in a position where you would like to be in the future or have gone through similar experience. And I think honestly, there isn't much that I'm gonna add, but just make sure that you build, like you build on the soft skills to connect with people and to build meaningful relationship in a professional setting. And as Mushraq said, I really encourage you guys like to attend events where you think you would be able to meet with people, who could be in a similar field that you would like to pursue in the future. So I think that's all. But whatever Mushtaq said is like perfect. That's all like I could say. Thank you.
Yep. Perfect. Perfect. So the next question more applies to when you're.
I think connect, but genuinely, authentically connect with people, not with intentions, oh, she's going to give me a job. It's because I see a skill set that he has, and I want to actually learn, truly be curious and learn from people. I think that's one of the things.
Definitely. How you would advise, talk about why that came about, talk about how you would advise someone not to make the same mistake you did, that, everyone makes mistakes and it can keep us back from what we're trying to achieve. So we'll start with Binyam and then we'll come around.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of I wouldn't say there are mistakes that I've done that I wish I didn't, because what happens on the workplace, once you're out of school, and this happens at school too, but once you've joined the workforce, and you're at a certain age where you have responsibilities too. So our mistakes have consequences. Sometimes they could be life altering consequences. But I wouldn't say there's a mistake that I would say I wish I could go back and change that, and that's because it is those mistakes that you're gonna make that are going to help you learn very important skills in your life that are going to help you grow, and not just personally, but personally and professionally. And if it wasn't for certain mistakes that you make in the workplace or when it comes to your career, you'd have never learned certain things. And then there's a very important thing that happens once you actually start the journey for your career journey, is you learn a lot about yourself, right? As you're getting your hands dirty, as you're interacting with people and doing all kinds of things, getting challenged or putting yourself in different challenges and all of that, you do learn a lot of things, and it is the mistakes that actually teach you the most. So don't be afraid to make a mistake, is what I would say. Go and get hands dirty, make all kinds of mistakes. You're going to learn a lot about yourself that you never thought you would have been able to learn if it wasn't for those things. So that's what I would say.
Of course. And Mubarak?
Okay. Yeah, something that I wish I could have done better was getting as much practical experience as possible while I was an undergrad. So, I mean, for my case, I was focused on research because I was planning to do PhD and I wanted to work in academia. That was my plan, but I wish I had more practical experience because that kind of could help me, get better jobs when I completed my master's, right? So when I completed my master's, I decided that I'm not gonna do PhD. Instead of going for PhD work, I decided to work in industry, and so I wish it did kind of like, as soon as I get out of university, I didn't really have a practical work experience except the work experience that I had as a research assistant and teaching assistant at university. And so I really advise you to get as much work experience as possible. And also something that I advise you is, if you know for sure that you are not gonna get into academia and research, make sure you do have some practical work experience before you do another graduate study. Let's say before you do masters, make sure you have some kind of work experience. Obviously, if you want to get into academia and work in that specific area, you have no choice but to do masters and PhD, specifically if you want to work in a higher institution, right? So, yeah, that's it. Thank you.
All right. Same question for you, Ms. Wack, and then we'll go to Jonathan.
So I think a big mistake, and to Binyam's point, I don't think there is any mistake that you don't learn from and you don't grow from. For me, being a Black woman in the pharmaceutical industry was very hard. Very hard. I was either the first or the few. And then to be in marketing and sales, usually Black people in the industry, I barely see Black men or women in the front, customer facing jobs. So one of the mistakes I made was I was so concerned about the bias of Black people because I thought, oh, I was carrying on my shoulder, my community, and most importantly, the Black women, that angry woman perception, right? So I will go into meetings and I literally, and for anyone who knows me, I speak my mind, right? And I am assertive, not aggressive, assertive. But I became passive. I shrunk in these meetings, right? For many years, I didn't have a voice because I just didn't feel comfortable. And I was the only one most of the time, right? I was concerned about how our people are perceived. The other thing, culturally, as Ethiopians or Eritreans, we're also told not to speak about our strength or our successes, our stars, or the successful things. Like, don't boast. That's part of our culture. It's not about arrogance, but in this world, especially in the corporate world, you need to speak for yourself, right? You need to ask for the next job. You need to showcase, you need to raise your hand for that visible opportunity where you can go in front of everybody and show your leadership. And I wasn't doing that. And I realized that I was shrinking and people were passing me. That's the mistake I made. And then I was not being authentic. And I was being, honestly, it was really mentally and emotionally very difficult. So I made a choice at some point to actually start a Black ERG, Employee Resource Good, within the company support program. So we can talk about, oh my God, these are the difficult things that we're having. How do we advance within this corporate world? The other thing is, I started speaking up. I started believing that I am capable of doing that job. It comes from within. I will tell you, I don't know if you guys know the Mohini story, the white tiger. Anyone knows that?
No.
One of my mentors told me this, and she was my manager. And she said to me, she goes, Mez, you're becoming the white tiger, the Mohini. And I said, who's Mohini? He's a white tiger that was actually gifted to President Eisenhower. And he was caged in a zoo in Washington, D.C., in a 12 by 12 cage. This is a wild animal. And he was so disciplined. And I talk to you guys, I want to talk to you guys about expanding your behavior belief, your belief about yourself. He was so disciplined to live in a 12 by 12. Finally, they released him and sent him and gave him a big acre park. That tiger was still sleeping in a 12 by 12 parameter for 20 years after that. And I remember her saying that to me. And she goes, you have your belief behaviors and you need to expand your behavior. And how you do that is you have to change yourself for others to believe that you can be there. And that was an aha moment for me. So I think that was a big mistake that I've done early on. If I had actually believed in myself early on, I wonder where I would be. So that's my thing.
Yeah, so for myself, I could speak for the entrepreneurs, people who want to be business owners or have some business idea that they want to execute on. My first entrepreneurial venture was in the real estate space. And I made a ton of mistakes, actually, a lot of mistakes. One of the key things that I found was when I initially started the business, I had done it to make money, become very wealthy. And I found that once I'd made all the money that I ever thought that I would need, I didn't really have a purpose or a drive to continue after that. So that's the first thing is knowing what you really want, why you really want it. And once you get it, what do you do next? So I was sort of misguided on that end. The other thing I'd also done was focus on constantly trying to grow the business without building a strong team. So I'd taken on many contracts. I'd originally started in hospitality. I had a number of Airbnb properties here in the downtown core. Then I got opportunities to take on contracts for property management, residential, commercial buildings. And I just said yes to everything, really. But the problem was, once I actually was able to get all these contracts under my portfolio, I could not manage it because I didn't really have a strong team. A strong team in the sense that everyone was waiting on me. Everyone was looking at me for answers. And nothing would really move in the company without me. And so what I'd really done was sort of chain myself to this business and didn't really know how to let go. The other issue was once the market shifted and there started to come about some challenges. When it rains, it pours. So the market shifted, and then, I had landlords coming after me, or building managers who had it out and wanted to make me an example. So there were a lot of problems, and once again, because I didn't have a strong team, I could actually not really solve or deal with those problems, and I was completely overwhelmed. Eventually, I actually ended up closing the business. I shut down. I walked away from all the contracts and eventually started what today is known as New Nakfa. And with New Nakfa, I actually was able to take a lot of those painful lessons from that real estate business and made sure that I didn't make those same mistakes again. So with our organization, I really, really focused on building a strong team and recruiting the right people, because I figured if I could get the right people to follow the vision, then everything that we would need would come after that. The capital that we would need to deliver on our programs and services, the marketing, the network, the know-how, that's all really come from my team. And now my job has really just been to be a spokesperson for the organization and continue to look at recruiting new talent. And that has actually been a lot more of a sustainable approach than the previous approach that I took. And it's been a lot more fortuitous. I can go on vacation, I can enjoy myself, and I know that I have a team that's capable, ready, and eager to take care of things at home. I'm not necessarily tied to the organization in the same way that I was before. I'm constantly looking at my team to give me feedback and information to help me understand different areas in which way we can improve or expand things. And so they have now become my teachers rather than the other way around. And where I can add value, of course I will. But that little tweak that I took from a plethora of mistakes from the first business, I've actually been able to turn into a strength on this next one around. So.
Perfect. So the next question I'm going to ask is the last general question. Then we'll go into one or two specific questions according to your field. So within everyone's field, there seems to be the common theme of deadlines and time constraints. Can you talk about how important time management is and talk about some strategies of always meeting deadlines to, further your business or get that promotion? How important does time management play a role in that? So we'll start with Mubarak.
Okay, thank you. So my strategy for time management is to do things